All right, welcome everyone. This is session 18, Take a Fitness Break. And before diving in, we do have to remind you that because this is a recording, you are required to have a live interaction with their lifestyle coach afterwards. So be prepared to have that short call to review the session and report your data as well. And so make sure you have your participant guide with you. We'll of course share that on the screen. But have it ready to take notes, and then also have your action plan ready to go as well. And so today we are going to be talking about taking fitness breaks. And so the focus of today's lesson is talking about how sitting still can affect type 2 diabetes. So we'll talk about that link. And then we'll also discuss some challenges of taking fitness breaks and ways to cope with them. And then you'll also make a new action plan.
All right, so let's start with the first part of sitting still and type 2 diabetes. Many of us spend most of our waking hours sitting still. So we're going to look at an example here. So look at Terry's story on page 3 of the module's handout. And I'm going to read the first 4 paragraphs. You can follow along. Terry is at risk for type 2 diabetes. Her doctor asks her to be active for at least 150 minutes a week at a moderate pace or more. Over time, she reaches that goal. Terry's doctor then asks her to start tracking the time she spends sitting still. Here's what she finds. In the morning, Terry sits while taking the train to work. She spends most of the workday sitting at her desk, using the computer. Sometimes she talks on the phone or has a meeting, also sitting. She eats her lunch at a table in the staff room. After work, she takes the train home. Later that evening, she watches TV. When Terry adds up all that time, she is surprised by what she learns. It turns out she sits still for about 12 out of the 16 hours that she's awake. So even though she gets her 150 minutes of activity a week, Terry spends an awful lot of time sitting still. So the question is, how about you? How much of your waking hours do you spend sitting still? And obviously this is different for everybody because some people have desk jobs, some may be on their feet each day, some may be retired, you might have some injuries or a disability, and all these things affect our ability to how much we're sitting each day. So sitting still, we know, is bad for our bodies. You might have heard this, that sitting is the new smoking. That's because studies show that the more time you spend sitting, the greater your risk of health problems. These include type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart problems, and some types of cancer. That's why experts say it's important to get out of your seat. They suggest taking a 2-minute fitness break every 30 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. I know for me, I have one of those electric toothbrushes, and it goes 30 seconds on each part of my teeth. So that's 2 minutes. So the time it takes to brush my teeth, it goes pretty quickly. And the break doesn't need to be long or vigorous. The key is to move. Okay, let's go back to the story. I'm going to read the last paragraph now. So Terry decides to take action. These days, she still gets her 150 minutes of activity each week, but she also spends less time sitting down. She uses an app on her phone to remind her to take a 2-minute fitness break every 30 minutes. She stands up during part of her train ride. At work, she walks around her office while she talks on the phone and uses an exercise ball at the computer. Mary feels better than ever. So what does Terry do during her fitness breaks? She stands up during part of her train ride. At work, she walks around her office while she talks on the phone and uses an exercise ball at the computer. So think about what you could do for a 2-minute fitness break, like right now. You could dance. You could do some side steps. You can march or jog in place. You could touch your toes, and you could just walk around. 2 minutes goes pretty quickly. So we're going to ask you to take a little pause right now and in this recording and just kind of turn it off and take your 2-minute break, and then we'll start right back up.
All right, so hopefully you paused and you took your break. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more energized. So now we're going to dive into talking about some of these challenges of taking fitness breaks. And because we're not here to have a live discussion, we're going to go to our participant guide. But this is something we'll discuss with you when you have a call with your lifestyle coach. We'll get a little more personal and ask you about your personal challenges. But here we have on page 4 and 5 just some examples of what some challenges might be in terms of fitting in your fitness breaks. And so we often hear, I don't have time, right? I don't have time for fitness breaks. And so here are some ideas for how to cope with that. So if you're traveling, make sure to get out at each rest stop when you drive. If you're a passenger, be active while you ride. So you could lift legs, you could use resistance bands, or just kind of tighten your muscles while you sit there. And then if you're on a bus or train or even a plane, you could get up and stand, walk around a little bit. And then if you're watching TV at home, you could dance or do push-ups, lift weights, or use resistance bands. You could march in place, or if you have a stationary bike or a treadmill, you could use those while you're watching. And you could do this, of course, during the show or just during the commercials. You can come up with your own system. And then while you're at the computer, you could get an exercise ball to sit on, or you could get a standing desk, or, put a box under your computer so that will allow you to stand up and just change your position every now and then. And then some other ones that they have here while you're on the phone. So if you're calling a loved one, or maybe you are even having a meeting at work that's on the phone, you could stand up and do side steps, you could march in place, or even get up and walk around, even better, walk around outside. And then if you're at work, at a desk job, you can ask your coworkers to do stand-up meetings or even walking meetings. You could take the stairs instead of the elevator. You could walk to the other part of the office to ask your coworker a question rather than emailing them. And then you could use a copy machine or a printer on the other side of the building or in a different building rather than the one that's right next to you. And then this one is also very common. So say you forget to take fitness breaks, right? We all get caught up in what we're doing and we just forget. And then it's the end of the day, we didn't do it. So some tips would be to ask your friends or your family to remind you. You could post some sticky notes all over the place or in spots where you would see them, or you could set a timer, or you could also use certain apps that will remind you. So a lot of people have told us about apps that will vibrate or send a notification to remind them to drink water or to do an exercise or whatever it might be. So those are some options that are out there that people are using to just remind them to get up and move, because sometimes you need those reminders before it really becomes a habit for you.
That's so funny. When Angie was talking, I stood up and I started moving around, and now I'm sitting down and doing my part of this, and it feels so much better. My headspace is better, and I just feel physically better, and I feel like I'm thinking clear. And all it took was a couple minutes, and I wasn't moving that hard. So between now and the next session, we'd like you to complete these pages that Angie just went over with you. How to cope with challenges on page 4 and 5. And then if you have your own ideas, write those in the column that says other ways to cope. And then check off each idea you try. And then when you meet with your lifestyle coach after, we can discuss these. We'd also like you to try taking 2-minute fitness breaks every 30 minutes and see how it goes. So, and then we're going to look at your action plan journal. And we'd like you to take a few minutes to write these down and think about in the past what has worked and what didn't work since our last session. Is there any changes that you want to make? And also keep in mind what we discussed today about taking fitness breaks. And you probably have this in your head by now, but as you want to make your plan, remember to keep it realistic, doable, specific, and flexible. And remember to focus on behaviors and try to have fun. All right, so we have come to the end of our meeting today. We talked about how taking a 2-minute fitness break every 30 minutes can help you prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. We talked about the link between sitting still and type 2 diabetes and some of the challenges of taking fitness breaks and ways to cope with them. So as we said in the beginning, is per the CDC guidelines, you will need to have direct interaction with your lifestyle coach at each session. So that means that after you're done with this recording, you want to contact your lifestyle coach to schedule a short call to review this session. So at that time, you want to have watched the recording, you want to write your action plan and follow through with it. If you want to share any of your information that you got from those pages of coping with the challenges. And then lastly, you want to record your weight and your physical activity minutes and bring those to your lifestyle coach. And then you're done until the next session. Thanks, everyone.